In what is already being described as one of the year's most defining political confrontations, the Democratic Alliance's federal chairperson, Helen Zille, delivered a speech so powerful that it left President Cyril Ramaphosa visibly shaken and the entire National Assembly stunned into silence. What began as a routine policy debate over the coalition government quickly escalated into a dramatic showdown that exposed the fragile foundations of South Africa's Government of National Unity, GNU, and cast doubt on the legitimacy of Ramaphosa's presidency itself. Zille, whose sharp rhetoric and strategic brilliance have made her one of the country's most respected yet feared opposition figures, approached the podium with the authority of a seasoned stateswoman and the conviction of a citizen betrayed. Dispensing with pleasantries, she launched directly into a fierce critique of Ramaphosa's leadership. She accused him of betrayal, hypocrisy, and sidelining coalition partners while the African National Congress, ANC, quietly tightened its grip on state power. "Mr. President, let me say this without fear," she declared. "You are not leading a government of national unity. You are presiding over an ANC monopoly." Her thunderous words struck the chamber with the force of a gavel, shattering the illusion of an equal partnership within the coalition. The mood in the chamber shifted immediately. Moments earlier, Ramaphosa had delivered a lukewarm defense of the GNU's achievements. Now, he stood frozen, visibly rattled, as whispers swelled into audible gasps. Zille's attack was not merely political, it was personal. She was questioning the president's integrity, the credibility of the post-election agreement, and the sincerity of the government's promise of inclusivity. Her accusations were direct and damning: unity spoken of while decisions were made in secrecy, consultation promised while partners were ignored, integrity preached while power was concentrated around individuals responsible for looting the nation's wealth. With each charge, her voice grew louder and more unyielding. And then came the line that instantly became a national soundbite: "If this is your conception of unity, then South Africa needs a divorce. If you cannot speak truth to your own party, then you most certainly cannot speak for this nation." The room fell into a silence so thick it was almost surreal. For nearly 20 seconds, there were no jeers, no applause, and no interjections, an extraordinary stillness in a chamber notorious for noisy disruptions and heated exchanges. Even Ramaphosa's closest allies, usually quick to leap to his defense, sat motionless, exchanging uneasy glances as Zille's words settled over the room like ash after an explosion. Political commentator Linda Mkhona captured the moment best during a live broadcast: "The silence was deafening. It said more than any response ever could." For the first time in memory, Ramaphosa seemed cornered, politically and morally. He didn't scribble notes, raise his eyes, or utter a single word. Deputy President Paul Moshetal attempted to interject, protesting on principle, but the move only underscored the fact that the president himself remained mute. In political terms, this was a public defeat. Zille, in contrast, returned to her seat with the composure of someone who had said what needed to be said. Members of her party nodded approvingly, while whispers of agreement could even be heard from Action SA and Inkatha Freedom Party, IFP, MPs. In that moment, Zille had spoken not just for her party, but perhaps for the broader coalition itself. Her earlier words lingered in the air: "You cannot lead by hiding. You cannot rebuild a nation with silence, delay, and cowardice. The time for hiding is over." The reaction beyond the chamber was immediate and electric. Clips of Zille's speech spread rapidly across social media, sparking a wave of commentary from citizens who viewed the moment as a turning point. The hashtag Zille silences Ramaphosa began trending within an hour. "I never thought I'd see Ramaphosa lost for words in Parliament. Helen Zille just voiced what every frustrated South African has been feeling," wrote one user. Another remarked that silence after her words was louder than anything we've heard from Ramaphosa in months. Observers across the political spectrum recognized the magnitude of the moment. Some labeled it the symbolic collapse of the GNU in its current form, predicting that coalition partners would no longer remain passive passengers in a supposed joint project. Veteran journalist Justice Malala described Zille's intervention as a shot across the bow of the ANC, warning that the era of token coalitions as mere window dressing was over. If Ramaphosa doesn't adapt, Malala cautioned, he and his party will be left behind. Behind the scenes, insiders confirmed that tensions within the GNU were intensifying. Emboldened by Zille's speech, several smaller parties reportedly began drafting formal complaints to the presidency, demanding transparency and genuine power sharing in governance. One insider admitted, "What Helen did today gave everyone the courage to finally speak out. We've all felt sidelined, now it's in the open." Yet, even amid the storm, Ramaphosa remained silent. His spokesperson released a carefully worded statement insisting that the president respects all voices in Parliament and remains committed to constructive dialogue within the GNU. Critics dismissed the response as tone-deaf, interpreting his continued silence as a tacit admission of guilt. As political analyst Viawethud Lamini put it, that silence may be golden, but in politics, it can also be damning. The wider implications of Zille's intervention are still unfolding, but one thing is clear, she did not merely give a speech, she reshaped the political landscape. For too long, Ramaphosa's leadership style has been characterized by backroom deals, compromises, and a reluctance to challenge the ANC's dominance. But when the moment demanded strength, his silence spoke volumes. Zille's address was not grandstanding, it was a call to end a style of governance that many South Africans believe has failed to deliver transformation. Whether her fiery words mark the beginning of a new political dispensation or remain a historic milestone in opposition politics is yet to be seen. But there is no denying she struck a nerve. As one young voter wrote on X, she didn't just speak truth to power. She reminded us that power answers to the people. And today, power had no words. Perhaps, in that silence, South Africa finally heard what it needed most, the unmistakable sound of accountability knocking at the nation's door.